recommending, that's all.
Well, essentially at this point, as we understand it, there's a lot of community uproar about this shifting from one spur to the other. And if the city enters into the agreement and doesn't have an indemnification and lawsuits ensue, which we anticipate, there would be no coverage for the city. And in this case, the city is doing these improvements to assist Caltrans in extending the freeway. So the indemnification would be a way to protect the city from that liability in case third parties were to sue. If that issue of access is resolved, then there'd be less likelihood of those lawsuits. But as I understand it, it has not been resolved to date.
Caltrans.
It's a policy decision, of course, for the council to determine what it chooses to do here.
Good evening. Mark Zabani, Caltrans. Dan said it all, I think, in his report. Tomorrow morning, we're going to open bids on the project. We would award the project within 30 days of opening bids. The California Transportation Commission allocated funds for this project more than a year ago. We've been negotiating with the city more than a year ago and trying to get the project moving. We're very anxious to rebuild the structure. If the council changes the resolution to include the indemnification clause, the department will consider deprogramming the project altogether and just walking away. That would be a consideration by the department to do so. We've discussed the indemnification clause past week or so with the city, and we've expressed our strong opposition to the city that we cannot include that in the letter of understanding. The issue with the allowing UPRR or Union Pacific to rehab the Glasscock tracks by issuance of the city a permit to them. This is an active track. UP used this track up to 2005. But this is the issue between the city and the railroad. It's not the issue for Caltrans.
Thank you. So we now have people in the queue. Mr. Del Fuente, you're back in the queue?
Yeah, I'm back in the queue, Madam Chair. First, Madam Chair, I think that I don't know what his attention to. I don't know if Mr. Lindheim, I don't know if I agree with Mr. Lindheim that just because Caltrans says we don't do it is we don't do it. The reality is that they're responsible for that freeway, so they have the responsibility to retrofit that freeway. It's not that. Secondly, we go back to years of discussion that for some reason the no analysis was made. The city was not included in some of the decisions of shutting down the Hamilton Lane. What we found out about it was already a done deal with Caltrans. They designed the freeway, eliminating that railroad lane without any participation of the city whatsoever. So I don't think that I agree with you that it's just because they say no, we should not include that indemnification. I think we are going to be sued. I think we are going to be sued on the CEQA because we accepted the project with absolutely no analysis. I think we are going to be the ones that are going to be responsible for providing for access to that neighborhood. We're going to, period. We know that. And I think that's the reason why the city attorney has been trying to negotiate not only that agreement with Caltrans on the community benefits. So, by the way, we had an agreement on the community benefits about 70% upfront money and then 30% after it was completed. And my understanding is, and I wanted the city attorney to clarify that, my understanding is that that's not included in that agreement now. So I agree with you that it's supposed to be a $1.2 million community benefits, but I don't think it's a guarantee that it's going to be. So this issue is here, Madam Chair, because years ago, without any participation of the city, Caltrans and UP and the port made a decision. And maybe somebody can correct me. Eric, don't go away. If the city participated in that, we never knew that was the case. But maybe somebody can enlighten me on that, and that will be different.
There's no evidence that I can find. Obviously, these discussions took place before I was even working for the city of Oakland. Caltrans filed their statutory exemption for their seismic retrofit project back in August of 2000. I didn't become aware of the issue until 2007. The port hasn't given us a clear answer of who they contacted in the city, and I can't get a clear answer out of the port about who, when they may have discussed these plans with. I know that at least as far back as 2002, there were discussions and engineering drawings that were going back and forth regarding, with the port, the Oakland development, and Caltrans and the railroad about various configuration options of the handle lead. So that's what I've been able to find in the evidentiary record. So that's what I've got. Unfortunately, I was not here during any of this, so I can't speak to any personal knowledge, but those are the documents that I can find and the documents that I could provide in terms of a chronology.
Mr. Lindheim.
Let's be real about one of the issues here. On the one hand, we could say, yeah, it's Caltrans' responsibility, or we could say that Caltrans ought to have done it some way differently, or, you know, just because Caltrans says something doesn't mean it's going to happen. It may well be correct. You know, proof's going to be in how it plays out. What makes things so dicey in this situation is Caltrans has made this a litmus test. They've made this, they've said, look, we've been messing around with Oakland. Oakland causes us problems on this project, on that project, this project, and we're just not going to give any more money to Oakland. Now, is that real? Probably not. Is that just noise? Probably. On the other hand, we talked about stimulus money before. A lot of the stimulus money is going to be in transportation. A lot of that transportation money is going to come through Caltrans. Some of that money will be formula. We'll get it anyway. Probably. Some of that money will not be formula, and it will be completely at the whim of Caltrans. So part of this is a very high-stakes issue as to, are we willing to jeopardize a substantial amount of infrastructure money, substantial amount of stimulus money on the chance that we might get sued, or that we might even have to pay for the suit. So on the one hand, we could say, hey, maybe we've got hundreds of millions or even many hundreds of millions of dollars of projects coming, and on the other hand, maybe it will cost us a couple $100,000 to defend the suit. So at a certain point, we also have to look at this in the real world of those kind of state and national politics. Is any of this real? We don't know the answer to that. That's one of the problems here. Do we have great choices here? No. There's no question that there is a safety issue. There's a way around the safety issue, as I said, but it makes it inconvenient for the residents, and that's to get rid of parking on the estuary side of the street. That'll deal with the access issue, but it is an inconvenience. It is a real problem. I'm not saying it's a good solution. The problems are real, but at a certain point, we really have to balance very, very, very large sums of money for the benefit of the citizens of Oakland against the possibility that we might have to defend a suit, or even the cost of defending that suit. The bottom line in all of this, though, is if the railroads want to go down Glasscock, the railroads will go down Glasscock. There's nothing we can do about that. And if the Hanlon lead is going to be terminated, they will come down Glasscock. If the freeway is going to be retrofitted, the Hanlon lead will be terminated. So, I mean, these are the issues, and these are the stark things we're being faced with.
Ms. Kaplan.
Thank you. One of the public speakers raised a technical issue about the potential of installation of a feature that would reduce train idling. Can anybody address that? That sounded good.
Right. The California Public Utilities Commission has a railroad crossing safety division. That division is in charge of all of the safety improvements that happen with the railroad. The railroad has some responsibilities for those. The city has some responsibilities for those. We can bring that issue up to the Public Utilities Commission. If they include that, once Caltrans makes the formal application